I grew up in Canada, and I was, I was of that generation. I was of the generation where the most intelligent people, the most interesting people, were the people who dropped out of university. So it's very interesting for me these days, because I've been teaching at Yale and some other schools, and all these students taking master's courses. I always wonder why don't they just wait and get an honorary degree a little bit later on? What's the big rush to get a degree? For 25 years, I worked with Jorge and Felix as a group called General Idea. That's us there. That's me in the middle. I'm sure you can recognize me. But I wanted to talk a little bit about my own roots in hippie culture first. When I went to the School of Architecture in Winnipeg, which is very interesting and desolate, the coldest city in North America, actually, with the biggest native population. I began working for the university newspaper and designing centerfolds and special insert cultural sections. And this was, the beginning of the hippie era, and there were the graphic influences coming both from places like Amsterdam, but also San Francisco. So this is student work of mine you're seeing. But it sort of maybe sets the stage, because then I dropped out of university with 8 of my friends, and we formed a commune, and we opened a free school, what we called a free school, and basically all the visiting professors that were brought into the architecture school we would also invite to come and see us, and because we were the most interesting students from the school anyway, they all would. And we opened something we called a free store, where we sold things that we made and gave a lot of stuff away. And we had an underground newspaper. I'm going to skip over, there's a couple of images that I'm going to skip over to get to the underground paper. This is Loving Couch Press. It's the paper that we produced. And the whole phenomenon of the underground press from the 60s was a result, in a way, of technology. There was the development of something called the web offset press, which made it possible to print newspapers in smaller editions and for very little money. And suddenly there was this explosion all over the Western world of these papers. The other thing was that it's the first real, the first rising of a kind of special interest networking, which of course we have now in the internet. I mean, it's how life is lived today, as networking of special interest groups. But back then, there was no such thing. And the underground papers had a kind of very tight network. They all sent material around to each other. And that's how I first, for example, came across the International Situationists, because they also were publishers in France, and we would receive their material.